Okay, I am pairing the Brahms C major sonata with one little piece, the Opus 116 number 4 E major intermezzo. To do a sort of an after and before relationship between the mature, the very mature Brahms and the very youthful and yet to be fully polished 20-year-old Brahms. So here's the E major intermezzo, which again is an old friend, but I haven't seen in quite a while. Wasn't a run through. Marked one accord. So, one of the things I love about this particular piece is all of the wonderful lines that interweave, and in fact the ways he has several lines either shared between the hands or in one hand, moving at different paces. And of course the shape, all of these later pieces are structurally so well put together. There's not a wasted moment. But in any event, I do recall where I need to work to learn this piece again. I'm going to start in the middle section here. Don't have a measure number, but you can find it. Different kinds of arpeggiation. Oops. So that arpeggio doesn't finish. Instead, there's the arrival of two of the other voices, and then so the voicing is often. This is an octave we didn't have in the E major or the B7th. Any octaves at the beginning. Here we have a reiteration of the tonic, another octave. But again, he won't let the spacing of the arpeggio stay still. We look at the seventh there until then. Again, it doesn't finish. So. The different spacing leave an impression on it. Here's the seventh, and here's the seventh right away. And it ends the same way. In other words, I want Brahms's choice to be meaningful to me. Otherwise, they'll feel arbitrary, and I won't remember them. And I won't be able to be persuasive about them. And again, an explanation. I'm voicing the left hand much more strongly than I would perform it because I want that awareness to develop. B7th ones. The first one, the second one, the third one, and it starts off the same as this one, but it fragments. And then the fourth one, they're all different in some way. There, but there's a dovetailing, like in Bach. So the right hand starts the new sequential statement. The left hand finishes the right hand's job here. The arpeggio first time, there's a missing downbeat in the arpeggio, so sets that up as the norm. So rather than 1, 2, 4, 5. It's much more control on the top. So this is just this actual straight closed position E major arpeggio. This is an actual straight A major. Dominant pedal, present, tonic pedal. In fact, this piece is full of pedal points. The tonic pedal point at the very end, a marking point, but there's an amazing juxtaposition or conflict between simplicity and complexity in this particular thing. So, rather odd. Okay. Let's see. Editor, and I think I agree with him, chooses 5 on this one and then a 5-3 for the C sharp. He could have gone 5-2, 5-1, 2-1, 5-2-1, 2. That would have worked well too. In fact, I think I prefer that. Simplicity, but in fact, he's choosing the turnover finger for the last group anyway. And because this goes to a black note, the second finger feels very much at home with that gesture, so I find that more symmetrical and just more comfortable. Something else to note. The B's are all in the same place. This one has the 2 arpeggios on the low E, then the upper E. how much a description you have for how your body feels about the keys you're depressing, the notes, is important. It's nice to have a strong awareness of how the notes are put together on the page, but it's equally important to have a strong awareness of how those keys feel under your hand. So the grouping, the topography, all of that is important. Those closed positions, just remarked on them. Now down to the bottom. Right at the beginning. On the third one. Actually, the seventh, right at the beginning, in the second and third one. Here's the seventh, here's the seventh now. Seventh again. I'm going to go back. I just wanted that central experience. Okay. He's such a card. He makes it so difficult to know we're in E major. I mean, we start in E major. Immediately bypass E sense. I guess. Pardon the ambient sound, there's some vacuuming going on, and that's one of the things about practicing. You practice in all kinds of environments, and the better you can concentrate when there are ambient sounds of all sorts, the better your concentration will tend to be. It exercises. Brahms, even early Brahms, but to have mathematical slowing down. So from the triplety, I should point out that, I take it back. He does indicate that these are triplets at the beginning. He doesn't indicate that these are triplets in the right hand. He doesn't bother. He assumes you can figure that out. So 7/7 chord. Rarely just resolves, he disguises it. Here's an interesting thing, it's not major third. That means that the right hand does one whole step, then it catches up with a major third, and then it's back parallel. That's so. That would. It's interesting how one detail makes the difference, both in the way the composer chooses, but also in terms of your awareness. Because if you're not aware of subtle differences, you may still be able to play them, but they won't be in any way meaningful to you. Back to what was in the beginning. Here's where he decorates. Now, for those of you who know the 116 set well, his capriccios in here tend to have an arpeggio pattern. The intermezzi tend to have some kind of a relationship with the second. So here, for example, so he's found some thematic relatedness. Here's or the arpeggiation of the beginning one. So, I feel, many people feel that there's a great deal of integration in the whole set, that he's referring to his own material, and that's kind of fascinating. So I like it that there's arpeggiation here when he returns, and it's descending arpeggiation as. Stuff. It happens that Brahms, who started off piano dolce and adagio, at this point marks a fairly big crescendo to an actual forte and portati, indicating real. Sharp minor, the relative minor of B. So initially, no big deal. It's the second phrase that's different from the first time around. In two hands. The right hand has competing voices, shall we say. So we have right. And the bottom part is we have actually done by one hand. So It's one of those things, I've played this on and off. It's quite possible that his rather cumbersome fingering doesn't appeal to me. It just occurs to me that if I use the parallelism of the sixth, I'm not going to have any trouble voicing my right hand thumb, so that's not going to be an issue. And I've always had trouble with crossing over to this B, so with the extra time, it's one of those things where you say, why didn't I think of that? Or something like that. But when you're able to learn, what can I say, it's not a passive way, but rather without force feeding, without a sense of, I've got to be prepared for next week's lesson or whatever. If you're learning just as a process of discovery, or the way I'm doing now with a lot of thought put into my process, altogether, it's possible sometimes to pick up on those things just because you're anxious to be respectful of what your body does, or where you feel a certain sense of edginess or difficulty that you think ought not to necessarily be there. And we know Brahms to have articulated his musical ideas very, very clearly on the page, not necessarily with that much regard for comfort. So if there's comfort to be had, or simplicity, so much the better. The first time that's not a E major, but rather takes the same upper portion of the opening motive, but he transforms it with the D sharp. Let's see. Showing the second voice not accurately, so I've got to be careful, or I will often do it. The leading tone, F double sharp. Lots of F double sharp, in fact. Whoops. E sharp, F double sharp, so as in a melodic ascending. Consciousness into my brain. If I can alter my fingering, my change G sharp. Let's see what happened when I did it the regular way. Well, it just goes on. We don't really need it. We can actually let go because it's a significant phrase and so what carries on is the B. That's all. Now on. E sharp. Gotta keep track of my time, yes. That's what brings us to here. That works. Nice. Down the octave. All right. Okay. Back to tutte corde. So off with the soft note and return. Well, rather than what we had when we had the G sharp minor, we still have the beginnings. Unlike beginning, in a sense, we have heading for C sharp. Therefore, rather than 2-3, it's got to be 1-2. Just glorious low C sharp. That can't be. Oh yes, I filled in a seventh. It was a little too meaty and complex. Okay, I've got to compare this. Now we have, from that C sharp,